I'm going to need a paddle bat. Thank you. Okay, so China. What did you call it?
The People's Republic of China. That's the official name. They have 1.3 billion people living there.
I can't even conceive how many people that actually is. A crazy amount of people.
Yeah, you can because it's insane.
Yeah.
It's one of the largest countries in the world. It's one of the richest countries in the world. It's a country with like massive, beautiful cities.
Beijing.
Beijing, that's right. Or
Shanghai.
That's right. Beijing is like the government center where, all the important decisions are reached, and, Shanghai, the glitzy, sexy, beautiful city.
So like Beijing's like your Washington DC and Shanghai's like your glitzy, trendy New York.
That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, I do know one thing. They are governed by a communist party.
That's right, they are, yeah.
Communism means like everything is distributed evenly and there's no difference between the rich and the poor, right?
That's right, yeah. The important thing to remember basically is that the Communist Party of China is basically aspiring to that. The reality is oftentimes much more difficult, right? But the basic idea is everyone is equal, everyone has the same share of everything, we all are part of one society, and we're all working together to make sure that the society functions well, and it's a very good idea in a sense. But the problem kind of is, of course, because we're human and we kind of have, egos, and we kind of want to stand out, and everyone wants to be a special snowflake. In 1989, there's something that happened on Tiananmen Square in Beijing. There were huge student protests. People were just saying, well, we don't want to be equal anymore. We kind of want to have democratic rights. We want to express ourselves. We don't believe in the Communist Party anymore. We're not, we don't get what we want out of it. So the Communist Party got really worried and said, okay, stop. Please, students, stop protesting. We'll make sure that you guys can get rich now. We'll give you everything you need.
So did they do that?
They did do that. They've started establishing this whole system, which is now called socialism with Chinese characteristics. What it basically means is, you are a communist country, but all of a sudden you have those rights of, for example, being rich and getting rich, which doesn't make sense because, like I told you, rich and poor people usually don't exist in a communist system.
Can people publicly kind of bash or criticize the communist country? I have this idea that it's quite strict there.
And you're right with that. I mean, and picking up on Tiananmen Square, because that's where it basically started. There were people protesting the Communist Party and saying, well, something isn't right. And the consequences were quite harsh. I mean, allegedly a lot of students died. Criticizing the Communist Party is a big no-no.
So what happens if you do?
You do get into jail. You will be sent to labor camps. You won't see your family. Your family might get into trouble. There are really harsh consequences. But Chinese people in general, of course, there's people who are unhappy, but they seem to be happy and it seems to be fine.
So do they have the death penalty?
They do have the death penalty, so, that's where the happiness ends.
What is life like for Chinese people? I don't know, I'm not Chinese, I'm German.
Yeah. People have generally acknowledged that China has a long way to go and they're kind of willing to work towards that goal, so that's positive and it's good. Yeah, the cities are glitzy and nice and standards of living are quite good. But on the rural side, people are, again, starving. They don't have access to healthcare. They don't even have access to good school buildings. One of the big issues as well, and I'm sure you've seen, the pictures of people with the face masks walking through the streets. The environment is a huge issue. I mean, sanitation, the waterworks and everything. I mean,
Sure.
It's all a system that is basically was planned out really well, but when it comes to executing it, there's still lots of stuff to be done.
Is there quite a lot of poverty?
Beforehand, under the communist system, poverty doesn't really exist because everyone's equal. But now that there's those new influences and people are getting richer and some people are getting poorer, some people are getting left behind, that's where the problem starts. After all I've told you today as well about China, I mean, it might sound like, well, it's tough, it's difficult. It's very different basically from what life in Europe might be like. Within their system that they've kind of carved out for themselves, I think people function and work quite well. And I think the general happiness is, they're fine. It's a different system, but at the same time, what is really encouraging now, people are within the confines of what I've just described, kind of starting to at least be a little more critical about it and try to kind of speak out.
I don't need this anymore.
I'm so glad.
Definitely answered all of my questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
I feel like a pro.
Great.
And how do you say thank you in Chinese?
谢谢.
谢谢.
Very good. You speak Chinese now?
I'm fluent.
Perfect.